Hey, I'm Corterri, and I'm here to talk a little bit about these gross flesh wound studies that I painted recently in Procreate. For these studies, I used a basic round brush with the basic pen pressure enabled. As for color, I used this color palette, and I stuck to these three colors because I wanted to get better at using color and value. Limiting myself helped me sort of squeeze as much use out of these colors as I could, relying mainly on their different values and saturation levels. For the first study, I just made a simple flesh wound showing granulation tissue. I wasn't sure if I was going to commit to the idea yet, but then I ended up liking how it came out. So then I moved to this second study, and I wanted to do something a bit more complicated. I settled on this sort of like a thick yellow flesh wound with some irritation around it. It's actually special effects, so it's not an actual wound. I started with a dark shade of red. I find starting with a darker shadow color and then building up the shape by adding lighter bits of color works better for me personally, instead of starting with brighter colors and shading them in. But sometimes I do it the other way around, so it just depends. It's hard to get that disgusting cracked texture, but I eventually got close to it. At this point I liked where things were going, so I ended up duplicating the two completed rectangles to fill the canvas with as many blocks as I could, which in this case was 12. The third piece is like a torn wrist or something. This one was sort of to move a bit away from up-close injuries to more whole shots, I guess. It was pretty fun drawing this. Like the previous one, I had to rely on varying shades of the orange to get those fatty layers inside the injury. For numbers 4 and 5, I wanted to shift to gunshot wounds, and these were for the most part disturbingly clean compared to the previous 3 injuries. The difficulty with these was trying to make the whole look interesting, especially with the first one. The second one had at least a little bit of cracking at the edges, and like a fresher look to make it more eye-catching. The thing I feel makes a difference in defining these studies is that last bit of shiny detail to make certain areas pop. So number 6, I wasn't paying attention again, and this is actually another photo of special effects. I thought it looked pretty good though. It was hard to get the blood splatter on the edges of the wound to look like it's not just more of the actual hole where all the meat is, if that makes sense. Moving on to the next row, this is like someone went swimming and they cut their knee and then they caught like a flesh-eating virus or bacteria, and then they had to have the meat around their kneecap removed. The color was mainly reds and pinks, so I relied on the darker reds to create the shadows that define that sort of kneecap shape. This injury also had an interesting texture, like all these dots, so I tried simulating that by making quick little dots with varying shades of the red. Next is like the small beginnings of a bacterial flesh-eating infection. I really like how this one came out. I started a bit shaky on this one since it's so simple. It's just a little hole with a raised area around it, but it came out pretty interesting looking. The next 3 are actually also going to be flesh-eating bacteria, for some reason. I don't like how the lower third box came out. It came out looking like the scab is like this rock stuck inside of the skin. I feel like the reference had that scabby bit more level with the skin. Adding the shiny parts was annoying too because it kept coming out looking like little maggots. Anyway, next is like a worse version of the earlier bacteria spot. Maybe it's a more advanced stage. I don't have too much to say about this one. I feel like in the reference that crusty scab area at the edges of the hole looked kind of greenish, but since I don't have any green, I had to rely on grayish shade of blue. I feel like adding an actual green tone would pop out way too much. It wouldn't look very close to the reference. Okay, the next one is really gross. Flesh-eating bacteria, but in like a ring shape. It's disgusting how perfect the ring is. Ugh. And then the little pink patch in the middle, gross. I hope I never get this shit. I have to admit it was pretty fun drawing this like textured ribbed circle and trying to like blend it to the skin surrounding it. For the final box, I decided to stop with the bacteria and do at least one frostbite injury. It's really fascinating to me how our flesh can die from too much cold and literally turn a solid black. To paint these, I stayed away from actual solid black, and I stuck to nearly black dark red. For the edges, I used desaturated reds and I think a bit of orange. The shine around the frostbite was giving me that worm problem again, but I think it came out pretty decent. I know this wasn't really a tutorial or how-to, but I hope it was more interesting to watch than the quicker studies I normally do. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.